Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and welcome back to the Fangoria Movie Challenge. This is the segment I've been doing with my good buddy, Joe the Horror Man, where we're not only going to watch, but also review all 101 movies Fangoria thinks we should have seen. Today we're going to be talking about I Spit on Your Grave, aka Day of the Woman. I Spit on Your Grave is a 1978 film, which runs approximately 101 minutes and is written and directed by Mir Zarchi. He was responsible for Don't Mess with My Sister and I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, which is the sequel. Now, this stars Camille Keaton as Jennifer. She was in I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, The Bluesman, and Savage Vengeance. Iran Tabor as Johnny. He didn't have anything to his credit. And Richard Pace as Matthew. He also didn't have anything to his credit. Now, the budget on this was $650,000, and this, at the time, had the longest rape scene in history, with 25 minutes. And Friday the 13th Part 2 was filmed in the same location in 1980, and that is in Connecticut. All right. We're going to get into a really simple synopsis, because there's not really much to this one, but I do want to talk about this. I Spit on Your Grave is about Jennifer. Jennifer is going to this house in order to write her next story, and she writes for a woman's magazine. So she goes to this hick town. She's from New York City, and she gets gas where she runs afoul of three men who you don't really think anything of it at the time, but they end up raping her. It's actually four men. They end up raping her, and she gets revenge. That's basically the story in a nutshell. It's very simple. Now, I'll be honest, I have not seen this movie since I was probably in my early teens. When I got into horror, I was primarily slasher movies. And that was pretty much it for me. But then I had this summer where I came to a revelation. I wanted to get into the films that made horror. And I've said this before. I would write movies like Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Of course, since I'm old, it was in the early 80s. And the so-called classics that were the big names in horror. And this was one that I rented. I Spit on Your Grave. Now, before that, it sounds kind of weird, but I thought it was maybe too heavy for me. This was considered very extreme for its time. And as weird as it sounds, I didn't think I was ready for something like that before I rented it. Now, granted, renting it in my early teens probably wasn't the best idea either, but, whatever. But it left a lasting impression on me. I will let you know that. It's very brutal, and in watching it with Joe the other night, it definitely still holds up. Now, there's a couple things that I really wanted to talk about with this, and something that I've noticed in movies that have a similar storyline. Last House on the Left, Sudden Impact with Dirty Harry or whatever, Savage Streets. When I was younger, and this is something I haven't really ever told anyone except for Joe and my wife, actually, but I like these movies, but I didn't like the rape scenes, and they really bothered me when I was younger. So I would fast forward through the rape scenes. Well, come to find out that I liked the movie, but I didn't like the movie as much as when I finally watched the rape scene in context with the film. Because it was almost like, and hopefully you guys can understand what I'm saying, it's like I wasn't satisfied because of everything they did to a certain person when they eventually get their revenge. It's a very satisfying feeling. Now, of course, that lasted a little while. I don't know, it just turned me off in a film. I didn't like it. It just felt wrong. But that lasted a couple years. And then I started watching them with the scenes in it. And like I said, while they still bothered me a lot, it made the movie feel you got a certain satisfaction in the film from seeing that person get their revenge and seeing the people that did this heinous thing um, get what's coming to them, basically. So, as I'm watching this last night and I'm talking to my friend Joe, I'm saying to myself, why do it seems like they always have a mentally challenged person in this film? And Joe um, kind of commented on that and said that it probably seems more disturbing having a mentally challenged person raping another person. And I agree with that. But I also have another theory. I think that it's a way of messing with the audience because when you're it's almost like you feel sorry for the mentally challenged person, almost like they don't know what they're doing, so should they really be punished for it? And it kind of lends itself to making the person who is taking revenge on these people a bad guy for or a bad girl for um, taking revenge on the person who didn't know better. But how messed up is that, though, if you really think about it? Because they do know better. The guy in this film, Matthew, knew he wasn't supposed to do that and didn't feel right about it, but did it anyway. In Sudden Impact, there's a mentally challenged guy who didn't want to do it. It's either a mentally challenged person or it's a person who hasn't lost their virginity or something like that. And I think that's in order to mess with the audience and to almost make you feel sorry for the person who did one of the people who did this heinous act. And actually to make you hate the ringleader even more for making them do it or enticing them to do it or, whatever. I don't know. It's just something that I was thinking about last night as I was watching this film. I would love to know your opinion on this one. Um, yeah, I'm just curious because it seems like it follows a certain formula. So, but I'm babbling, so I'm going to get to my recommendation, and my recommendation is Avenged. If you have not seen Avenged, it's a very good film, and it's a lot like I Spit on Your Grave, only I like it a little bit better. Just to run it down real quick, it's about a deaf woman who is meeting her fiance, and she ends up seeing something that she shouldn't see. Uh, a bunch of men killing someone on the side of the road. So they rape her and kill her. And she's brought back by an Indian shaman who does an incantation so she can take her revenge. And it's pretty brutal and it's a really good film. No one ever talks about it. I'm not really quite sure why, but it's a really good film. Definitely check out I Spit on Your Grave. It is definitely worthy of 101 films that you may not have seen. I'm sure most people have by now. Check out Avenged. It is a really, really good film. Very brutal. And don't forget to check out Joe's review and see what he picked. And if you like what you see in here, hit that like button and subscribe. And until next time, peace.